Hollywood has spent decades presenting the illusion that what appears on the big screen is the finished, flawless work of a director. Yet many blockbuster action films are far from complete when principal photography wraps. In secret studios, often rewrite scripts, reshoot key sequences, and reconstruct endings just weeks before release. The final version audiences see may differ dramatically from the original vision reshaped to meet commercial tonal or narrative expectations. These changes are carried out quietly. Scenes that are too violent, too dark, or too complex are cut or replaced. Dialogue and character arcs are altered and climactic moments are rebuilt to provide clarity and mass appeal. Actors return to shoot new material, editors integrate footage seamlessly, and the public remains unaware that the story they see is a carefully reconstructed creation, masking the original ideas and intentions. Tonight, we will explore 15 Hollywood action films that underwent extensive reshoots in secrecy. From alternate endings that never reached theaters to deleted action scenes and completely reworked storylines, these movies were transformed in ways audiences could never imagine. What you are about to witness is how studios quietly reshape blockbusters, turning them into films that were polished, marketable, and very different from the stories originally conceived. Are you ready to uncover the hidden secrets that Hollywood tried to keep from the world? 1. World War Z. 2013 World War Z originally concluded with a dark and chaotic Moscow sequence showing Gary Lane trapped in a seemingly hopeless battle. Test audiences were unsettled by the grim tone, prompting the studio to intervene with extensive reshoots. Damon Lindelof was brought in to rewrite the climax, transforming the ending into a more accessible finale set inside the World Health Organization. Multiple action sequences and character moments were removed or replaced, fundamentally altering the film's tone while keeping audiences unaware of the original bleak narrative. The reshoots salvaged the film, turning it into a commercially viable blockbuster while masking the intensity and despair of the initial ending. Viewers experienced suspense and excitement, unaware that the story had been reconstructed, demonstrating Hollywood's ability to quietly manipulate narrative and reshape key sequences to satisfy studio and audience expectations without revealing the original creative vision. 2. Rogue One, a Star Wars Story. 2016 early cuts of Rogue One contained numerous sequences not included in the theatrical release, including beach assaults and pivotal confrontations. Lucasfilm determined the tone was too dark and complex, prompting secret reshoots to clarify story and character motivations. The ending underwent multiple iterations, including survival-focused and sacrificial conclusions, before settling on the theatrical cut. New footage was integrated with existing material to produce a coherent and emotionally satisfying narrative. These changes performed quietly altered the story's emotional stakes and character focus. Audiences experienced a seamless cinematic experience, while the original darker cut remained hidden. Rogue One exemplifies how Hollywood reconstructs films in secret, modifying tone, narrative, and character arcs to meet studio and audience expectations, while keeping the creative process largely unseen by the public. 3. Suicide Squad. 2016 David Ayer's initial cut of Suicide Squad was darker and more character-focused, emphasizing psychological depth. Studio executives worried about marketability commissioned secret reshoots to inject humor, simplify subplots, and reduce violent intensity. Key scenes featuring Jared Leto's Joker were removed or shortened, and Harley Quinn's relationship with the Joker was rewritten. The final film combined original footage with new material, creating a more accessible and commercially viable blockbuster. The theatrical release presented a vibrant, fast-paced action film, while the original darker narrative remained unseen. The reshoots demonstrate Hollywood's ability to alter story pacing and tone behind the scenes, creating a final product that masks the director's initial intentions and provides audiences with a polished, entertaining experience, concealing the significant changes that occurred during production. 4. Justice League 2017. After Zack Snyder departed, Warner Bros. Faced the challenge of completing Justice League. Joss Whedon was brought in to finish the film, but his work included extensive rewrites and reshoots. Several characters had arcs modified, Steppenwolf was redesigned, and additional comedic and lighter elements were added to balance Snyder's darker vision. Actors returned to reshoot scenes that diverged significantly from the original plan, creating a theatrical cut that appeared seamless while concealing the extent of the reconstruction. Critical emotional beats and narrative sequences from Snyder's concept were discarded, leaving the theatrical release to balance different tones for a wider audience. Only insiders knew the scale of the changes, including removed storylines and altered character dynamics. This demonstrates Hollywood's capacity to quietly reshape a blockbuster, producing a final product that satisfies both entertainment and commercial objectives while hiding the original creative intent from viewers. 5. The Bourne Identity 2002. The original ending of The Bourne Identity was a quiet, introspective resolution, emphasizing Jason Bourne's internal transformation rather than action. Test screenings prompted Universal to order reshoots, creating a more dynamic and climactic finale. Entire sequences were rewritten, additional stunts and confrontations were filmed, and Matt Damon returned to shoot new material. The final third of the movie was significantly reconstructed to provide clarity, pacing, and audience satisfaction. The reshoots converted the film into a high-energy spy thriller, delivering a compelling cinematic experience. Audiences saw a thrilling climax without realizing that the contemplative ending had been removed. This process exemplifies how Hollywood quietly modifies films to meet both narrative coherence and commercial requirements, producing a seamless theatrical experience while concealing the original creative intentions of the director and cast. 6. I Am Legend 2007. The initial ending of I Am Legend depicted Robert Neville realizing that the Darkseekers were intelligent beings, making him the true intruder. Executives worried this would alienate audiences, so secret reshoots were ordered to produce a more conventional finale in which Neville sacrifices himself to protect humanity. Additional footage was filmed to highlight heroism and emotional resolution, effectively erasing the philosophical ambiguity of the original ending. Deleted scenes and altered sequences were concealed from public view, producing a simpler, more accessible theatrical cut. The reshoots transformed the thematic meaning of the story, removing complex moral dilemmas in favor of commercial appeal. This illustrates Hollywood's ability to secretly reconstruct narrative elements, crafting a film that aligns with studio objectives while hiding the director's original intentions from viewers. 7. AI. Joe Retaliation 2013. Paramount realized that Channing Tatum's character, originally killed early, did not meet audience expectations. The studio delayed the release for nearly a year and ordered extensive reshoots to expand his presence. New scenes were filmed, action sequences were rearranged, and narrative elements were restructured to improve cohesion and commercial appeal. Original footage was combined with reshot material to produce a cohesive final cut, masking the extent of the last-minute changes from audiences. Additional work included 3D conversion and enhancement of stunts, increasing visual impact. The theatrical release presented a polished blockbuster while concealing the significant reconstruction behind the scenes. This demonstrates Hollywood's ability to secretly manipulate narrative screen time and pacing to ensure star prominence and audience engagement without revealing the original creative plan or omitted scenes. 8. Quantum of Solace 2008. During production, the Writers Guild strike left Quantum of Solace incomplete, forcing director Mark Forster and Daniel Craig to improvise key sequences. When initial cuts were reviewed, the studio identified gaps in narrative flow, pacing, and character development, prompting secret reshoots. New footage was filmed to adjust action sequences, strengthen arcs, and maintain continuity with Casino Royale. Dialogue and story progression were reconstructed carefully without public awareness. The reshoots ensured coherence and accessibility while replacing or restructuring original sequences. Viewers enjoyed a seamless film, unaware of extensive modifications made behind the scenes. This case exemplifies Hollywood's capacity to rebuild narrative elements quietly to maintain story clarity, commercial viability, and overall audience satisfaction, producing a polished theatrical release that conceals the original challenges of production. 9. Solo: A Star Wars Story 2018. Phil Lord and Christopher Miller's original cut emphasized improvisation and a lighthearted tone diverging from Lucasfilm's intended style. The studio removed the directors and brought in Ron Howard, who reshot approximately 70% of the film. Key sequences, character interactions, and plot points were rewritten to clarify story arcs, adjust pacing, and enhance emotional engagement. The theatrical release presents a unified narrative masking the extensive changes behind the scenes. Characters were reframed, emotional beats reworked, and action sequences reconstructed to satisfy franchise expectations. Audiences were unaware of the original comedic and experimental tone. This demonstrates Hollywood's ability to quietly rebuild nearly an entire film, producing a commercially viable final product while keeping the director's initial intentions hidden from public view. 10. The Wolverine 2013. James Mangold's original concept for the Wolverine explored Logan's psychological struggles and personal growth in a darker, introspective tone. The studio, concerned that the ending was too bleak for mainstream audiences, ordered reshoots to create a more heroic and conventional finale. Entire sequences were rewritten action. Scenes were added and emotional beats were adjusted to provide narrative clarity and closure, changing the tone from reflective to commercially viable action. Reshoots included adjustments to lighting, camera angles, and connecting scenes to align the story with the larger X-Men universe. Audiences enjoyed thrilling action sequences, while the introspective depth of the original ending remained unseen. This demonstrates how Hollywood can quietly reconstruct endings and reshape character focus, producing a film that meets studio and audience expectations while concealing the creative decisions that were initially intended. 11. Mission Impossible Fallout 2018. When Tom Cruise suffered a serious injury during filming, production was halted for several months. During this break, the creative team reviewed key sequences and identified areas needing additional footage. Once filming resumed, reshoots were conducted to improve action choreography, narrative pacing, and character interactions. New material was seamlessly integrated with existing scenes, including adjustments for continuity related to other commitments of the cast. These reshoots ensured a coherent and engaging final product while hiding extensive behind-the-scenes alterations. Audiences experienced a seamless, high-intensity action film without realizing the production had been reconstructed. This example demonstrates Hollywood's ability to quietly rebuild scenes and narrative elements to maintain spectacle, character development, and story clarity under unforeseen production challenges. 12. Blade Trinity 2004. Conflicts between Wesley Snipes and the production team disrupted filming of Blade Trinity, making it impossible to complete several planned scenes. The studio employed stand-ins, doubles, and CGI to compensate. After reviewing footage, executives ordered extensive reshoots to restore narrative cohesion and adjust character focus. Supporting roles, particularly Hannibal King and Abigail Whistler, were expanded to fill gaps, while Dracula-related storylines were rewritten for continuity. Additional sequences were integrated with original footage, creating a theatrical cut that differed significantly from the intended story. The final film appears cohesive on screen, but conceals extensive reconstruction behind the scenes, replacing darker themes and intended character arcs with a commercially viable narrative. This illustrates how studios manipulate content through secret reshoots to produce a polished final product while hiding the original creative vision. 13. Edge of Tomorrow, 2014. The original ending of Edge of Tomorrow focused on the complexity of the time loop, resulting in a darker, more ambiguous conclusion. Test screenings indicated that audiences found it confusing and emotionally distant. The studio quietly ordered reshoots to clarify the narrative, add a heroic resolution, and simplify the time loop mechanics. Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt returned to film new sequences that strengthened character arcs and resolved key plot points, making the ending more accessible while preserving narrative coherence. Additional connective scenes were integrated to smooth transitions and reinforce emotional beats. The theatrical cut delivered an exciting and understandable conclusion, concealing the more complex original from public view. Only a few insiders have seen the initial cut, which explored the psychological toll of repeated death and failure in greater depth. This process demonstrates Hollywood's ability to reshape narratives in secret to satisfy both audience comprehension and commercial expectations. 14. The Dark World 2013 early cuts minimized Loki's presence, which conflicted with fan expectations after prior appearances. Marvel secretly ordered reshoots to expand his role, enhance interactions with Thor, and add humor and nuance to his character. Entire sequences were rewritten or added, including dialogue adjustments and emotional beats that reinforced Loki's prominence and clarified motivations. These changes reshaped narrative focus and elevated Loki from a minor character to a central figure. Reshoots also improved pacing and adjusted tone, softening darker moments and clarifying transitions between scenes. Audiences experienced a more engaging and coherent story, while the original edits remained unseen. The process highlights how studios can quietly reconstruct a character's prominence and narrative influence, producing a final theatrical release that aligns with audience expectations while masking extensive behind-the-scenes changes. 15. Rambo I 1988, the original Rambo. I included explicit political commentary and a morally ambiguous portrayal of the Afghan conflict. Concerned about international sensitivities, studio executives secretly ordered reshoots to soften political content and emphasize Rambo as a clear-cut hero. Key sequences were rewritten or replaced, dialogue simplified, and action redesigned to focus on spectacle rather than complex moral themes, producing a more commercially accessible narrative. Deleted and altered scenes removed ethical dilemmas and harsh realities of war. The theatrical cut highlighted heroism, camaraderie, and adventure, obscuring the complexity of the original script. Viewers enjoyed an action-packed film while remaining unaware of the significant alterations behind the scenes. This demonstrates Hollywood's ability to reconstruct narrative and thematic elements in secret, producing a polished, audience-friendly final product that conceals the original creative vision. Bonus: Mad Max Fury Road 2015. The production of Mad Max Fury Road was one of the most complex and secretive in modern cinema. George Miller initially envisioned a surreal, dialogue-heavy, and psychologically rich narrative. Studio executives worried the original cut would be difficult to market and requested extensive reshoots. Key sequences were rebuilt, additional footage was filmed, and edits were performed to enhance pacing, cohesion, and clarity, all executed quietly to preserve secrecy. Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron returned to shoot new scenes that strengthened character relationships, while high-speed chase sequences were refined for rhythm and visual impact. The theatrical release became both a critical and commercial success, though the original experimental cut remains largely unseen, known only to select insiders. This demonstrates Hollywood's ability to reconstruct a film in secret, producing a polished final product while hiding significant creative alterations and extensive behind-the-scenes effort from the public. Hollywood thrives on spectacle, but the stories behind the scenes are often far more dramatic than anything shown on screen. The 15 films explored in this episode were secretly reshot, rewritten, or reconstructed with entire endings, replaced action sequences, modified in character arcs, reshaped, all without audiences ever knowing. These hidden interventions ensured that the films met studio expectations, balanced commercial appeal, and clarified narrative while concealing the original creative intentions. If you want to continue uncovering Hollywood's most closely guarded secrets, from lost cuts and hidden edits to behind-the-scenes struggles, this channel is your window into that world. Behind the velvet curtain lie mysteries, intrigue, and cinematic manipulation waiting to be revealed. Subscribe and stay tuned for the next episode, where even more films that almost became entirely different stories will finally be exposed to the public.